All right, as the political controversy continues to escalate over the Farm Bill, I'm joined by senior Congress leader, Mr. P Chidambaram. He's, of course, been a former union minister and, of course, he's a top legal as well. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chidambaram, for joining us. Now, Mr. Chidambaram, if I may, the Congress is very much spearheading these protests, the political protests against the Farm Bill. But the question being asked is that the Congress in its own manifesto in 2019 had promised to do exactly the same thing, which is repeal the APMC Act. So I know that you've tweeted saying that it's a misrepresentation that the BJP is saying, that you'd also promised to set up a number of farmers' markets. But isn't that splitting hairs? Because essentially, wasn't the Congress effectively promising the same thing?
No. You asked the same question to Mr. Bhupinder Hooda, and I thought you gave you an answer. Please read the whole section clearly and completely. What does the section say?
Okay.
That we will repeal the APMC Act and free trade. It says also, and that is the soul of the promise, that we will create farmers' markets in large villages and small towns so that the farmer can bring his or her produce to the markets. It also says we will promote farmers, producer organizations and companies in order to enable the farmer to access technology, inputs and markets. The word market occurs in that section at least 4 or 5 times. Idea is this APMC today is a very limited market accessible to a very small number of people. I've got the data and I will share the data with you presently as we go along. What farmers need is 12, 13 crore farmers, families need is thousands of markets in large villages, small towns, which they can access. Today, barring 6% of the farmers, 94% have no access to this APMC for a variety of reasons. So we create these markets, we create a competitive, accessible market ecosystem, and then in due course, as a natural sequel, that the APMC will either be there or not there, we can repeal the APMC Act. Please read the whole section clearly. The soul of the promise is thousands of large markets.
I actually went through your manifesto and I saw the points you made. In fact, it first says that we will repeal the Act, and the point following that says that we will create markets. But effectively, Mr. Chidambaram, doesn't that come to the same thing? That when you say you will create thousands of markets, effectively what the center is saying is that we repeal the APMC Act and then let 1,000 flowers bloom. All kinds of players can come and trade with the farmers wherever they want.
No. What the BJP is saying is exact opposite of what the Congress said. What the BJP is saying is APMC will continue with all its inefficiencies and inaccessibility, and the rest of it will be free for all. On the contrary, what we are saying is we will create markets. We will establish markets. The market can be run by the state government, by a cooperative society, by a panchayat, or by even a licensed private operator, like warehouses today are run by licensed private operators. There will be light regulation in the market. The market will be a place where people can buy and sell. It will not be a situation where you can buy and sell at the farm gate. You will have to come to the market, and the market will be, since thousands of markets will be created, there will be a market within 3 or 4 kilometers of the farmer in every place of India. Large villages and small towns. Count the number of small towns and large villages of India. Thousands and thousands of markets will be created under the Congress proposal.
Okay. Mr. Chidambaram, also to your tweet, there were many people who responded, tweeting a press conference on an announcement the Congress had made in December 2013 with Rahul Gandhi flanked by Congress chief ministers, where all Congress rule states, it said, will delist fruits and vegetables from the APMC Act to lower prices. This was cited as yet another example of the Congress's hypocrisy, where you were effectively, in order to protect consumers, were taking fruits and vegetables out of the Mandi Act, therefore making farmers more vulnerable?
Because fruits and vegetables today are sold and bought in hundreds and hundreds of markets created by the state governments. It's no longer necessary that fruits and vegetables must be sold only in the APMC. We're talking about grain. We're talking about paddy, wheat, maize, soybean, groundnut. We're talking about bulk commodities like that. Fruits and vegetables in Chennai alone, there must be at least 100 fruit and vegetable markets which are created by the corporation or maintained by the corporation. So fruits and vegetables are no longer relevant for APMC purposes.
Okay, you're saying that you're drawing a distinction between fruits and vegetable producers and grain producers. Some might argue that all of them need the protection of government-controlled markets. But overall, Mr. Chidambaram...
No, please. Because alternative markets have been created for fruits and vegetables.
Yes,
what we need to do is create alternative markets for grain.
Okay. But overall, Mr. Chidambaram, now that in a sense the ship has sailed on the government's new law, they have passed it, and it's expected that there might be presidential assent soon. What exactly now are you protesting for? What exactly is it that the Congress is seeking?
Because we don't believe in the promise made by the Prime Minister and the Agriculture Minister that MSP is guaranteed. Please ask them to answer a few questions.
Okay.
Who are they guaranteeing MSP to? The 6% who are able to access the APMC or the 94% who are not able to access the APMC? What we want is, in all the thousands of private transactions that will take place, progressively we must move to a situation where the farmer gets a price not less than the MSP. So why don't they simply add a clause to the existing bills, provided, however, that the price paid by the private trader to the farmer shall be not less than MSP. This amendment was proposed. This amendment, we sought a division on the amendment. Division was not allowed. The amendment was not discussed.
Yes.
The amendment is being brushed aside. Why? If you really believe that the farmer must get a price not less than MSP, or at least MSP, add that clause. It will allay apprehensions to a very large extent. There are other issues with the bills.
What would you say?
The fundamental issue is you are not providing for a guaranteed MSP. Your promise is an oral promise, like your previous empty promises. 15 lakh rupees in the bank account of every Indian. Doubling the farmer's income. 2 crore jobs a year. These are empty promises. You are adding one more empty promise.
Right. But what would you say, Mr. Chidambaram, to the charge that the Congress has now woken up to the plight of the farmers, but you had 10 years in government? Why not create all these thousands of markets that you spoke about then? Why not guarantee or make MSP mandatory to farmers then?
Of course. Why not send a spaceship or a satellite to the moon 20 years ago? Why not do a nuclear test 30 years ago? Every government does what it can and what it's feasible to do at that given time. Successive governments build upon that. Every government stands on the shoulders of the previous government. Everything can't be done in the first 5 years or 10 years. These questions are completely irrelevant. Is it that for 10 years we did nothing? We did no reform? We didn't deliver 8.5% average growth in the first 5 years and 7.5% growth in all the 10 years taken together? Was it not the golden period of economic growth of India?
Right.
You are asking the question as though we did nothing and the only thing we ought to have done is to create these markets, which is why we build upon previous successes, previous accomplishments, and move on.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chidambaram, thank you very much indeed for joining us on NDTV. Thanks very much, sir.
Thank you.